Hey, Larken Rose here, and I was going to do a video on this topic anyway, and Mercaday, July 4th, is the perfect day to do it on. The topic today is that everything gets hijacked. And what I mean by that is every positive or useful idea or action or event or anything like that is going to be hijacked by people to try to serve their agenda, even if their agenda has absolutely nothing to do with the person or the act or the event. And there's no better example of that than July 4th, where people celebrate a time when other people wrote down on a piece of paper to their own government that they weren't going to obey them anymore, to King George III, the British Crown, and they said, yeah, here's all the reasons we think you suck, and all the reasons we're just not going to do what you say anymore, we're not going to pay tribute to you, neener. So it was an act of defiance, it was an act of treason. As somebody else coined the phrase, treason is the reason for the season of July 4th, and it totally is. And how do Americans celebrate that? By waving the flag of a ruling class that didn't exist at the time of the Declaration of Independence, and that ended up being way more oppressive and unjust than anything that King George III ever even attempted. So it's a little bit weird to watch people thinking, "My freedom," while waving basically the symbol of their oppressors. And that's what ruling classes do. They will find something that people are attached to and go rah about, pretend they had something to do with it, and then get people to go rah for their authoritarian power. And they do this in a million different ways. I mean, how many cities have Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard? Like all of them. Like every major city, I think, has one. So here's this guy who criticized government, and yeah, he was a statist, and there's things about him worth criticizing, but he criticized government, and basically they killed him, and now they glorify him, same as Rosa Parks, like she was a criminal for not sitting in the right seat on the bus. Some of that story isn't quite how it actually happened, but close enough. Like, the legend is what matters for this point. She was the nasty criminal who didn't do as she was told, and now they praise her. The people who ran the organization that punished her for disobeying now praise her bravery and, like, what? You're literally the bad guys she was brave against. Same with a whole list of people that they now honor and pretend to be on the same page with, including, like, all of the people responsible for the American Revolution, who literally said in the Declaration that is the reason for everybody going rah today was the Declaration of Independence. This is Independence Day, which says it is the right and duty of the people to alter or abolish any government that becomes destructive of individual liberty. So what do they do on Independence Day? They wave a flag representing a government that is ridiculously destructive of individual liberty on a level that King George never dreamed of. And they don't see the irony, and they don't see the contradiction, and they think, "My freedom," because they don't really know how to think. But the point is, all these good intention things are so easy to hijack, and it's something that decent people have to watch out for. And it isn't even just government that does it. I mean, they're the gold medal winners in hijacking ideas and pretending it was theirs in literally 1,000 different ways. Like, somebody invents a seatbelt and they go, "Everyone has to put those in their cars." "Oh, thank you for your compassion." Like, you didn't invent it, you didn't build it. Did the same thing with airbags. Somebody invents an airbag. "Look, we made this magic thing that makes it so you can, like, crash driving 50 miles an hour and kind of be fine." And government says, "You have to put that in everything." And the people making it are like, "It isn't really done. It's still kind of dangerous. Can we have time to, like," "No, you have to put it in everything so we can get credit for being compassionate." And then, a bunch of babies die as a result of Congress's mandate. And then they say, "We're going to make a new mandate. You have to, like, put kids in the back seat." And just every step of the way, anything good they claim credit for. And it's the same thing in, like, basically every aspect of life. And I have a lot of sympathy for actual environmentalists, like people who care about, like, they love nature, like I love nature. They like there being diverse animal species, like I do. They'd like to see a whole bunch of nature not destroyed and not have oil spills killing a bunch of things over here and not have all this old stuff chopped down. Now, the question of how do we regulate that without a ruling class and what are people justified in doing, like that's a different discussion. Maybe I'll have to make a video about that. But then along comes government to say, oh, we care about the environment too. Wait, aren't you guys the ones who are like constantly blowing up like multiple tons of like ordnance, military ordnance all over the world, doing warmongering constantly? Well, yeah, but I mean, we have to do that. We can't not constantly blow things up. But we super care about the environment. And you can tell how much we care because we all fly around in our huge private jets using an immense amount of fuel to have discussions about how much you peasants shouldn't be allowed to like drive to the corner market. So they try to hijack that too. And the reason the good people have to know that is that if you're going, I'm an environmentalist and I care about the environment. Oh, and there's government and they promise to help. No, run the other way. They don't care. And even a bunch of people into a bunch of environmentalist things have slowly come to realize that when government says they care, they don't. When big corporations say they care, they don't. Now, there are ways in which like public pressure can make people change. Like it used to be that, the tuna fishermen would catch dolphins and a number of dolphins would die or in the process they did. And now they brag about being dolphin free. And the only reason they do that is because lots of people said, can you do that without killing dolphins? Because we kind of like dolphins because they're sort of like disturbingly intelligent. So can we not murder them just to have our tuna sandwich? And then they change. Now, you can debate, again, because people hijack things, you can debate whether dolphin-free actually means dolphin-free and what they're actually doing, because there's still the incentive to take shortcuts and do that. But the fact that a lot of people are bragging about, this is green, and we don't use this, and we have no exhaust, and we blah, 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 and like I just flew on Frontier Airlines that brags about being the greenest airline. Now, whether they are or not, I have no stinking idea. I haven't actually checked. But the fact that they brag about it is because of public pressure and people wanting there to be less destruction of the natural environment. And then along comes those who say, well, the real threat is climate change, this vague thing that doesn't actually really exist unless you're talking about the fluctuations that have happened for literally ever. But we're going to make that a crisis and we're all going to die unless you give government tons of power. Oh, gee whiz. You hijack the concerns of decent people, even if they were misguided concerns. You amplified it, you scared the crap out of them, and then used their concern as a way to get power for yourselves. And this is something that I think especially Democrats have a problem with it because they tend to be more emotion-based and less reason-based. And so if somebody goes, oh, we need to do something about this, and this candidate promises they want to go, good, I want somebody in power using that power for good. Well, they don't, ever, and you can't. You can't even use that power for good, even if they wanted to, and they don't want to, but they would love to trick you into empowering them under the guise of saving the environment and saving the species and doing whatever else. Sadly, like, I don't want everybody to become completely bummed out and cynical and like, you can't trust anybody. But the punchline is kind of, you can't trust anybody. You have to actually check, well, what are their actual incentives? Like, if there's some huge corporation that is bragging about, well, we're eco-friendly because whatever. Okay, are you actually, or are you saying that? And there are people who actually check that and do reports on that. And the whole, like, do away with oil, that's literally driven by the people who own alternative energy sources like windmills and solar and stuff. So it's in their best interests and in the interest of their wallets to demonize oil. Now, oil does the same thing. They have their propaganda machine and they have government using violence to try to crush anything that might lower the profits of big oil, and they totally do that. And So when there's a battle between two lying parasites trying to use the violence of government to enrich themselves, I don't want people trusting either one, and I want them able to look into it and able to be skeptical long enough to distinguish their own good intentions from the agenda of people who pretend to give a crap about those intentions. And unfortunately, that's in almost every aspect of life, even down to like, the thing that came up in discussion recently is, a children's hospital. Like, what could you possibly have to criticize about a children's hospital? Well, the fact that they're pushers for big pharma. And I don't doubt that a lot of people who work there are trying to help children. I don't doubt that good people are going into the system. But when the system is sort of nudging people in the direction of make sure big pharma gets tons of money and nudging them away from treatments that don't make tons of money, it's like, yeah, this treatment that would have been free has a better track record than this drug that cost you $87 a pill or some damn thing. So even there, I don't trust them. So when people are like, do you want to give to this charity? Nope. How about this hospital? Nope. How about the Save the Foundation? Nope, because I don't know who you are and I don't nearly trust your agenda if I don't actually know who you are. So the ones I support, when I actually have money to support anybody, are the ones I actually know personally. Like, I know what they're doing. And there have been a number of them, and I know people who do stuff. Not only are their intentions good, but they're actually like trying to do the right thing and doing the right thing. Imagine that. But there's so many aspects of life, and it's hard to miss on July 4th, where basically opportunistic scumbags will exploit the enthusiasm and the morality and virtue of the common folk to try to enrich and empower themselves out of what your good intentions are. And it's just sad to watch. And people waving flags on July 4th is perhaps one of the most spectacularly ironic examples of all these people celebrating, yay, we are no longer in a situation where the king can apply a 4% tax on imported tea and pieces of paper. Free at last! Meanwhile, we're under a ruling class that steals a huge chunk of everybody's income. Robs you when you make a penny, robs you when you spend a penny, and robs you when you try to hang on to a penny by way of inflation and monetary policy. And so it's this sad spectacle to watch. The fact that it comes from people's good intentions and is immediately hijacked by opportunistic bastards. So yeah, I don't want everybody to be feel hopeless and cynical, but I do want you to watch out and be suspicious of anyone who wants either your money or power over you. Find out what they really do. Find out what they really care about. And if it's what you want, support them. But just because somebody says, I made a Supporting Good Things Foundation, doesn't mean they're supporting good things. And because some politician says, I'm going to pass my great awesome stuff legislation, it's never good stuff. It's always authoritarian crap. So keep that in mind on this July 4th, and I'm mostly going to hide inside so I don't have to see the depressing spectacle of people waving the symbol of their abusers while still celebrating escape from abuse.